guys, and today we are going to talk about creating a recipe book with your class. So in our virtual classroom, we have made 2 recipe books so far, one in fall and one in winter. Our fall recipe book was apple themed, and our winter recipe book was winter holiday themed. We will make another recipe book for spring and then summer, but we don't know what themes those will be yet. Sarah and I will decide on that later on. So, why would we create a class recipe book? So, we believe that collaborative activities can help to create a greater sense of community within the classroom. Families might be feeling a bit disconnected, being apart from one another and learning in the virtual format. So, by having these activities where we all have to come together with our unique abilities and interests and whatever we bring to the table, we believe that that will help to foster that greater sense of community in our group of learners. Encouraging our families to cook, bake, prepare meals at home with their children can help to bring in a variety of valuable learning experiences into the home. You're bringing in math, literacy, science, and of course, really important life skills that children will carry with them throughout their entire lives. Parents may not know offhand that cooking and baking and food preparation brings all these curriculum expectations into the home. Parents love knowing that they are supporting their children's learning, and by supporting them in having these cooking and food preparation activities at home, if that's appropriate for your group of learners, it is a great way to encourage that parent involvement in their children's learning. Of course, the biggest benefit is that I now have a ton of recipes that I can try too. And honestly, it's just a bunch of fun. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch to screen share and we are going to learn how to create a class recipe book. Okay, so I'm going to start making my recipe book in PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and select a blank presentation. Now I want this recipe book to be printable for our families. So I'm going to go to Design, Slide Size, Custom Size. I'm going to pick letter paper, and then I'm going to pick portrait. I don't know really what the difference is here, but I always just pick maximize anyways. I can get rid of these boxes, I don't need them. And I'm going to start off by creating the cover for my recipe book. I always like to have a border on anything I make in PowerPoint. I don't know why. I think it just looks nicer. Shape outline. So let's go with a dark blue. And shape fill, no. Now let's just say that the recipe book we're making, let's say the theme is soup. So I went ahead over to Pixabay. Pixabay is where I like to get all my free images. It is a Creative Commons website. All images are no attribution required. Now, if I'm using stuff just for a personal project, I'm obviously just going to use Google and not worry about it. But for the sake of this, since I'm putting this video on the internet, I'm going to go ahead and use images that I legally can use for a project. So here, that picture looks pretty cute. I'm going to use this image for the cover of my soup themed recipe book. And let's put it down here. I think that looks pretty cool. So now I'm going to insert a text box and I can add the title. So kindergarten P for kindergarten. Oh, haha. Did I really do that? Wow. How do you spell kindergarten? Kindergarten P stands for Paragon of Play. Kindergarten P, recipe book. And let's use a font that we like. Let's see here. This might be kind of cute. Nice and big. Center it. Kindergarten P recipe book. And we'll add a subtitle. Soups for every occasion. Okay, there we go. What else could we add here? Maybe another outline there for the, I think it would just look nice if we added another outline. Let's do a nice dark green, no fill, shape outline. There we go. What if we actually made it, we could use sketch lines, curved lines. I think straight lines will look nice for this. I kind of like doing, I don't know what this S means. Oh, text shadow. I always think that looks nice. Soups for every occasion. Okay, so we have the cover of our recipe book. So let's do the interior. So I'm going to just duplicate the slide. Get rid of some stuff, and this can be the title. Now, how am I getting the content? How am I getting the recipes for my recipe book? So what I would do is in my Google Classroom, I would announce it to the families. And I think the best way to really introduce this to the students is to connect it to the learning that's taking place in the classroom. So in the fall, our class did an apple-themed recipe book, and we paired it with our inquiry learning unit about apples. So at the end of the inquiry unit, I think it was a 2-week unit, the end of the unit is when the students received digitally the recipe book. So perhaps if you wanted to do a soup recipe book, maybe you could do a theme of community and do a stone soup themed kind of unit and talk about community and people coming together and pitching in for the betterment of the group. And then at the end, you have this recipe book. So what I would do is I would tell the students and the parents out loud in the classroom that we are going to collect recipes for a recipe book, and I would also post it in the Google Classroom as well. And I would probably remind them a few times throughout maybe the 2-week period that I'm collecting recipes. So I allowed my families to submit the recipes just any way that worked for them. So some families would take a picture, and it's actually really cool. Take a picture of a recipe card that's been passed down for generations, or they might just send me a link to a recipe online that they like to use. They might just type it into Word or Google Doc and send it to me, whatever way works for them. So if they're sending me a doc or a Word document, then I'm probably just going to copy and paste their recipe onto this page. However, if I'm getting a picture of an index card with grandma's writing on it, hopefully I can read it, and I'm just going to type it out on the page. Or if I really wanted to, if the writing was neat enough, I could just copy and paste the picture and put it onto this page. I prefer to have every page in the same font and formatted the same way. I just like the way that that looks. So I prefer to type out the words that are on the images that I'm being sent. Now, this isn't a project I would want to leave to the last minute, because if I do need to translate great grandma's printing, her handwriting, I need to contact the family and just get confirmation what some of those words are. I don't want to leave this project to the last minute and find myself scrambling, Friday night when the students are supposed to receive the recipe book Saturday morning. So I'm going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to go over to an already completed recipe book. Now here's a completed recipe book that we had made, our absolutely awesome recipe book. And you can see here, of course, how much I love having borders. We have a little inscription there. And then this one just heads right into the recipes. Now, on each page, the families did not necessarily give me a picture of what the recipe looks like when finished. I again just went to Pixabay or whatever website, and I got an image that would be as close as possible to what we would expect. And I think it just looks nice to have a picture on each page. Now here is our winter holiday recipe book. And I'm just blurring out the bottom of the recipe book there because it actually, the picture I decided to use for the cover here is a screenshot of when Santa visited our class. And I just thought that would be kind of cute. Every family in our class celebrates Christmas, and therefore that's why I thought that would be a cute image to put on the front. And then I have a blurb here about why you should cook and bake with your child. And I thought this was some really great information to give to families so they understand why this is a valuable thing to be doing at home and how it supports children's learning. There's my recipe there. I actually took a picture of my dip. I actually froze some portions and I will be eating some of that dip tomorrow. That same dip that was made. So there's an example of kind of what this recipe book looks like inside. So how are families getting the recipe book? So we are uploading it to the Google Classroom for families to download. And some of our families are downloading it and saving it to their desktop and using it that way. Go back over to this one. Or some of them are printing it, and it's totally up to each family what works best for them. Not everyone has a printer, and that's why we encourage them to just use the digital version if they can. As a follow-up activity, we might share pictures of what we made at home. Now that's, use your discretion there if that's an quote unquote assignment that you want to have in your classroom. Um, our classroom, that's a valid thing that we are able to do with our students is say, hey, over the next 2 weeks, hey, maybe it's a month, if you complete one recipe from this book, can you take a picture of you in the process of making the food and then the finished product? And then we might have a slideshow and have the students maybe orally talk about what they did, or maybe we could extend this into a writing activity and have students do a journal reflection talking about the experience of making the soup. There are so many different ways you could run with this. This is a great thing to work into your measurement unit if you want to try that. Literacy, for sure, you could be using this as well. There are so many ways to integrate cooking and baking and food preparation into your programming. Again, you know your class best if this is an appropriate activity to be using with them. There are many classes in which a food-based activity just might not be okay. Luckily, our situation, this is something everyone can luckily participate in. We make sure there's a wide variety of recipes. So if I were to, let's say, notice that the recipes it wouldn't happen, but all included expensive, hard to get ingredients, I would make sure that there are, some recipes that we as the educators have submitted that are very simple and very attainable for our families. So just something to think about. I think that this is a great activity to do with a class if you think it fits your group of learners. I think it's a great way to build community, a great way to work on so many different learning skills. And yeah, as I said earlier, maybe I just want to hoard all those recipes for myself. I hope that you are able to make a recipe book with your class. If you are, I would love for you to share it on Instagram. If you could tag me at ms.spice and everything nice. I am so interested in seeing how everyone's recipe books turn out. Hope you can share them. Hope you can try out this experience with your kids. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. That way you know when new videos are uploaded over here on Paragon of Play.